Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call for December 8th, 2021. We're here on CathyDSlaught's website. We're going to scroll down and look for this Zoom banner right here. If you'd like to be part of Cathy's SRC4u Daily Energy Clearing Group, all the information's here to register. We're going to go over to the Zoom platform. Once I click, the call will be live. Prepare your speakers.
Oh, well, it's 10 o'clock, so let's go. We are still running from yesterday, and this is interesting. We did have a very high acceptance here. Let's just quickly look and see where we are. Head, neck, and shoulders. You'll see this bacteria is a theme. You're going to see that in a minute. Anyway, all subtle information, just going through. Words to ponder, learning history is easy, learning its lessons is almost impossible. Isn't that the truth? And again, look at that with the reference to bacteria. Over here, again, we're just going to continue. Let the wonder click do its thing. Words to ponder, abandon the search for truth, settle for a good fantasy. Interesting, especially in reference to what we're going to mention in a second. Anyway, again, this is our theme right here, pathogens, with an emphasis on bacteria. And I did go in and ask if we want the charger scan, 94% benefit. And interestingly enough, with the Excel spreadsheet for the charger, you see we start with bacteria. So we're going to do that, bone regeneration, sacral chakra affirmations, code for circulation, tuberculosis, and that could be, of course, a miasm. So I'll go down the list during the day, and, here's our zeros for sure. We'll get those done, but I'll get as many of them. If you talk about this work in the P4, guess I could make that bigger. This work in the P4, like a pebble in a pond, the charger is like a boulder in the pond. It's very powerful. So anyway, I didn't send anything out yesterday. You'll get something right after this call today. But just get down here. This is our information from the She Motion yesterday. I accept aloneness or spare time with courage. We had a few ahead of time. Affect measurable improvements that serve to empower others. I dare to be myself. Love is sharing and understanding. Learn, meditation. Speak your mind. Say your piece. 20 years from now, you will be disappointed by the things you didn't do. And I guess they left out the word more because I had copied right from the She Motion, but then by the ones you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. Speak this 3 times today. I deserve success. Law of unity, all things are inseparable and part of the whole. And then we wanted 15 more minutes. And so this was our final message, I am tenacious. And also, I meant to show you this yesterday. We ran for a couple of days with the SAVE session on 5G. And this just stayed in. Usually you do your scans and, the highlighted areas don't stay for long. But in this particular case, they did. We had parasite, stomach chakra, the 12 entry points, oppression, correction, physical, what I think is wrong with me, crown chakra, dental information, teeth, gums, mouth, tongue, jaw, eyes and vision, Haji pole, kidney meridians, torso. You see, we really were going in there with this SAVE session, which we requested in the scan. We don't always do that. It may have been simply on our mind because we've been talking about it. Anyway, marrow, vitamin balance, large intestine meridians, absorption, blood heat, ghost points, Chong Ma Yen, which is your life force, and pericardium. So I just wanted you to know this was all in reference to the 5G. So we do want to be aware, not in a, and I'm thankful for all my gadgets. We just want to be protected from any detrimental effect. Since we're electrical also, we don't want our electric thrown off. And then I wrote a post over the weekend and talking about what I call the inversion realm, that very often, because we're looking at everything with the five senses, what we see is actually the opposite of what is true. And I talked about this author, Dr. Thomas Cowan. I wanted to show you his website. And he started out talking about COVID and said some things that disagreed with the mainstream. So his books are banned on almost all sites. Scribed has a few of them, but his latest one, which is called, what is that called? Break the Spell. I did find, I think on his site is where I ended up finding. If you're interested, it's just $5. But it's about looking at COVID in a different way, which does not seem to be real safe or popular. And then I wanted to show you this. This comes from something I read yesterday, that there's now been an autopsy of a COVID-19 body, and they've discovered it's not a virus, but rather a bacteria that has been exposed to radiation. And this is what Dr. Cowan is saying, Owen Cowan, I'm not sure which, actually the electromagnetic stress. And he has in some other books, I don't know this book, I've not got it yet, but some compelling information on the 5G. For example, the Spanish flu and all those deaths, and they could never find a cause. They couldn't isolate anything. Happened to be also at the same time as the radio came out, and they began to work with radio waves. So these are just all things, when you look at the fact that the way our energy system is set up, we're very easily programmable. Is it possible that we have been given misinformation about this COVID-19? Anybody?
I think it's probably probable.
Well, we do have, I can't remember the number anymore, but quite a few new billionaires in the pharmaceutical industry. Now they are wanting boosters, etc., etc. But the statistics I'm getting, you all maybe have some different ones, I don't know. The statistics I'm getting are that the COVID cases and the deaths are among people who are vaccinated, not the unvaccinated. That's not what your media tells you, but that's the statistics I'm getting. Anybody else on that?
Yeah, I've read that several places.
Yeah. So it said after a period of scientific discovery, doctors in Singapore explained the present method of treatment, by saying the disease was a global hoax. It is nothing more but intravascular coagulation, blood clots, and a method of treatment to use antibiotic tablets and anti-inflammatory and take like aspirin. This indicates that the disease can be cured. Now, this brings up an interesting thought. A lot of people take aspirin for blood thinning. They take it at the end of the day. Many were told by their doctors, others just read it. And I've read that that's not necessarily that good for you, that it can cause some internal bleeding. But the big wigs never gave that information on aspirin until just recently. Now they're telling people that's not a good idea. Very interesting. So again, you don't want to go into paranoia, but you do want to have an awareness. And I spoke with someone yesterday. Now, I don't know if anybody is up to this. I haven't watched this yet. It's a text. Maybe some of you have already seen it. But is it remotely possible that the things we heard about World War II and the exterminations and the horror of it, is it possible that that wasn't true?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Almost everything we've heard about our history is false.
There you go. So if anybody wants this text I received, I hope to have time to listen to it today. I'm happy to share it. I don't know what it's going to say, but years ago, I listened to something. This was an author, David Irwin, I believe his name was. He was a well-known biographer. and he was commissioned to do a biography on Hitler. And this guy, the reason he was always a bestseller is he did not just take other people's research. When he did a biography, he did right to the core. For example, in the case of the Hitler biography, he had Hitler's secretary's Rolodex. This is how he worked. So he finished the book and turned it into the editor, and the editor said, well, the book is fine, except you don't even mention the Holocaust. He said there was nothing about it in any of the records. So the result of that, when he said that, he had his window smashed out. He lost his visa. I don't know what all else happened to him, but it was dramatic. And so
I've also heard that information, Cathy, many times, that it's hard to believe since we've been so conditioned to believe it. But I've heard that, in fact, or if there was something, it was on a much smaller scale than what we're told.
Well, that's exactly right, because we didn't have the communications back then that we have now. And that's what my friend said to me that sent me this text. She said, do you think it's remotely possible Hitler was a good guy? And I, looked at her. But I noticed years ago when I watched that one YouTube, I couldn't discuss it with anybody. People got very upset. And I will tell you that they say a sign of being programmed is to get upset when you get information.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, with that in mind, I mentioned I've been reading a book that someone gave me in reference to my closing. This is it. It's called, can you see it? Can y'all see that?
No, not the whole thing.
I'll email the name. It's Know Yourself, Know Your Money. And I think she kind of had a little hint in mind for me that I have not been good with money. And it's time perhaps to make some changes. So I've been reading this book, and since we have some extra time today, I'm putting together a little protocol, and I thought it might be interesting to look at where we are with the group. And then when I finish this tomorrow, I'll send the whole thing out to anyone who wants it. But the idea in my book, anyway, my thought is it's our beliefs that change everything. And we don't have to look at who's in the White House or what the government is doing or where the house prices are going, et cetera, et cetera. We actually have sovereignty to create what we need to create. And it is all about our beliefs, which come from our thoughts. So I'm going to just mention that. If you're doing any work with these altars, that's my little dog. Consider doing something about fear, because many of us have a great deal of fear about money. There is an app. It's called Free Every Dollar, and it's for budgeting. And so that's another thing I'll send out with the notes when the protocol comes out. And then our tendencies. And these are just tendencies because they fluctuate. We go back and forth between all of them. I seem to be a free spirit, which is not always an ideal situation when it comes to money. A little bit too optimistic. So these are just some things you can scan for yourself. This was the other thing. I seem to have a dreamer tendency. They even called me the dreamer in school. So then as I was reading, I pulled up a few codes, and I want to just show you, and we can douse in where we came out as a group. So for our codes, look at that. Let me just make it a little larger. We just want wealth building. That's our low number, and that sounds like a good idea to me. Let's see how
maybe that was for you since you got the book also at the same time.
I don't know. I'll tell you, but I have not been good with money. I work hard, but when I just haven't been good with money, and my friend knows this. And so when she gave it to me, I thought, well, not only do I need to read it, but I probably need to pass it off. So I'm trying to read it right away. And then as I read, I thought this might not be a bad protocol. So
I think one of the ideas with regard to money that has helped me the most, and this it comes from a spiritual context, so you can take it or leave it, but God gives you his spiritual ideas, and in turn, these give you daily supplies. And what that says to me is that if we're given an idea that we really feel is an inspired idea, that it comes with everything it needs to fulfill itself. That the ideas that come through our listening and just what we are given are they're fully charged with everything that's required to bring them into fulfillment. That there's no separation between the idea and its fulfillment.
I think that's wonderful. I agree with you that we are in the middle of a field of information of everything we need.
I have never been great with money. In other words, I've never had like an abundance of money or a great supply or whatever. But I've always, just through amazing circumstances, have had what I've needed. It's just been phenomenal. I mean, there were a number of years ago when I really wondered if I was going to wind up out on the street as a homeless person, because there was just no prospect of money. And yet every time I needed to make a move or do something that required money, somehow, and I won't say somehow, I'll say the universe provided. And I'm really feeling more and more that we don't have to plead for wealth or for opportunities. That God's source, our own higher self, is just longing to flood us with everything we need. But we're so timid in making the demand on that supply. And I was listening to something last night. I'll be brief here. I was listening to something last night, and I was thinking about sending it to you, Cathy. It was in German, but there were subtitles, and there was someone interviewing a younger person who was very tuned in spiritually, and they were talking about our current, world circumstances, and including, how are we going to finally sort of get rid of this, negative system that is trying to obliterate everyone. And this person made it so clear that it was not a question of, requesting that God do this, or that, praying for, somehow something to happen, but really making the demand, just going before there's a saying in the Bible, go boldly before the throne of grace. And sometimes we sort of tiptoe and, we don't feel quite worthy or deserving. And so we have this sort of pleading tone that, in our real nature, we are the image and likeness of God. And therefore, why not just know that it's our Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom and make that demand?
I agree with you totally. I think that in the Moses Code, that was the I am that I am. We have that spark, and that's exactly right. And it's interesting. I've had a lot of success with these codes, and my clients have had success. Oops, let me get to the right one with these codes. Let's just see, for example, this wealth building, because that's everything. All that information around us is a frequency. So, and every frequency has a number. Let's just see if we were to chant this particular code. That's not it. At least for the group, but you might test it if that interests you for yourself. But yeah, I believe that too, Elizabeth. That is all there for us. Now let's look at some of this. For example, right here, I can't buy a home because real estate prices are too high. Did we just change her? Yeah, I thought we had just perhaps scanned. That's a little bit of a stress. Let's put that in there. Well, we're still going from yesterday. Never mind. And of course, money is stressful. And we're more balanced there. And this lot of money being spent on the eating out, and we know not just the money aspect, but the nutritional aspect, no telling what kind of preservatives and colorings, et cetera, are in our takeout foods, our restaurant foods. I don't know if the group, it did come up, so let's just look and see. Yeah, look at that. So some of us, it may not be the people on this call, but some of us are probably wanting to think about cooking at home, having a few more meats, vegetables, fruits than some of that other. Then that was the Gong. Here is the Shin. Let's see, we go up to number 5. Let me just pull this up. So for the Shin, I love my life. Disciplined and focused about money management. Get comfortable with failure. This is one of the most interesting, is that failure is actually a wonderful opportunity if we look at it that way. And then also to release grudges. And my own experience has been release grudges against yourself for the foolishness with money, and look at it again as a failure and a way now to learn a better way. I know I'm going to work towards making a budget. Let's just see where we are with some of these at this time. Disciplined and focused about money management. Get comfortable with failure. Almost a form, what isn't almost, it is a form of psychic attack to keep building yourself up. And probably most of the psychic attack we see in our scans is us doing it to our own self. That's my opinion. Okay, so look at that one. It is going to go all the way up to the 102, but it looks like a few of us may be beating ourselves up a little bit, which kind of ties in release grudges towards others or self. It probably should say and or self, or past money mistakes. And then finally, get that one in real quick. Not the grudges. We're doing pretty good there. And then there is a real energy to giving. But as she talks about in the book, you don't want to just get yourself in trouble from giving. You've got to have a little discernment there, but you definitely want to give as you build the wealth. I'm going to guess there's a high resonance here with that, but let's just find out from our blueprints. So we're up there. That's kind of what I thought would happen. And so finally, and I can send out what we have so far, and then just add as we go, because you might want to work with yourself on this a little bit. But then finally, let's do a field generator. Oh, goodness. All right, let's see. And I did a scan ahead of time. What we're going to do is we're going to douse in, you are loved, you are strong, you can do hard things, and you're here for a reason. So let's go up here. This teamwork is an interesting one because I do think the teamwork involves bringing in God, myself. And of course, they might be referring to with your family, with your kids. It's amazing how many adult children feel a responsibility to take care of their parents. And according to this book, no. It would go, again, the same direction with adult children. Many parents are feeling they have a responsibility to take care of their kids, no matter how old they are. That's not what this teamwork means. They discourage that kind of thing in the book, anyway. Pulsing. Maximum. 3 meters. And it just takes a second, not a second, but a couple, maybe a minute, to scan some of these things when you are doing these individual, smaller field generators. Let's just see. And let's just call it wealth building. Just 6 minutes. Well, that looks good to me. So anyway, that is basically it for today because we are still running. Anybody have any comments?
Cathy, you asked me to bring up about the timeline for those.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I put in the other day to remove any negative feelings about myself, and I did all times, and I couldn't believe how many inherited I had.
Wow. Yes. You've really done some good work with that timeline, and
I'm just drawn to it.
And it is powerful. I need to use it more often. But yeah, it is even the book about the altars. We inherit much of this, and it is just like a program running in your computer. It's in there, and it takes environment to activate it. In our case, with our man-made computer, we click a few things, and it looks like our environment clicks a few things as well. And people in this line of work, such as we are, very often, for some reason, the wealth doesn't accumulate, would you say? And it may be that we just don't value that. It's not our top priority, but it also might be some inherited things that, for example, what you're supposed to do to earn money, blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Totally.
It's probably why some people make more money than others, because they haven't inherited all these thoughts.
I believe it. Yeah, I do believe it. And it's funny, I was going to go and wait around Christmas and do this prosperity stuff just for fun. Maybe since Irene gave me this book, I'm not finished. I still have a bunch to go, but I'm going to try to finish it today. And I'll go ahead and send out what we have so far. And this might be something to go into towards the end of the year. And the other thing I want to go into, if any of you are interested, and I don't know that you even need this, it's pretty self-explanatory, but maybe go in how to start our own groups. Because that would be, speaking of teamwork, if we all have groups of people that we can help. It seems to me to be very powerful. Group energy many times is more productive than solitary.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I'm experimenting not just with myself, but with this field generator, just for little daily goals. And it's very beneficial. So you might try, if you're not trying already, get up in the morning, and if you need to take out the garbage and you just don't want to, put the field in, take out the garbage. In other words, like I was telling one person about it, and so what she put in her field was New York Times best-selling author and all these things. I said, have you written anything? No. I said, well, how about writing in your field generator, start my book? You know? So we're all very interesting that way. But yeah, I found it interesting to do that. And for sure, it's not going to hurt anything. And it might not hurt to even do the wealth building field generator on a regular basis.
Yes,
So,
that's something I do. I use the field generator for generating wealth.
oh, good, good. We're meant to have it, just like you said. We are meant to have really, we're meant to create heaven on earth.
Absolutely.
So I think with that, that's it. We do have the power group at 11 for 10 minutes. And then other than that, I will see you all tomorrow.
Great. Thank you, Cathy.
Thanks a lot, you
Thanks,
guys.
Cathy. Wonderful
one.
information. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Great day.
Goodbye.
All right. Thanks.
This concludes the SRC4u Zoom call. Thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you again. Till then, take care and be well.